Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Q&A Tuesday. This is the #1 question and answer show about medical coding, airing on Tuesdays. So, if you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Now, I take all the questions that have been submitted from viewer comments, through emails, and from Instagram, and I put it all into one episode. So, here we go. Now, if you'd like to have your question answered for next week's Q&A Tuesday, I hope that you'll comment below or shoot me an email, and I will add it to a future episode. So, thank you to everybody who submitted their question. Let's get started. All right, so first question. Hi, Blue. They say to highlight reports before coding. In an all-digital office, how can we do that? You can't. If you are looking at an electronic health record, obviously you cannot do any highlighting. If they are mentioning that, it's probably because you're studying and you're using paper and you're able to do that kind of thing. But in a normal office setting, no, you would not do that. You can make notes. You can have a scratch paper with you if you really do need something like that. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much the ins and outs of it. I mean, if you're learning, of course, you're going to want to highlight and things like that, so that way you can sort of know what you're looking at. But in the real world, no, you're going to have to work with what you got, looking at the computer. So, next question. Hey, Blue, I recently found your channel. Thank you for sharing your story and your knowledge with us. I graduated from a community college HIM program, Health Information Management, if you don't know, in 2015. I took some time off for myself after I graduated because school was a lot for me, and I had a lot happen in my life around that time. Fast forward to 2020, I'm now in a place where I feel I'm ready to take my certification exam. I recently purchased the HIM study guide for the RHIT, Registered Health Information Technician certification. My question to you is, where do I start to study, or what do I do to prepare myself? Because I haven't been as focused as I should have. Again, thank you for sharing, and I look forward to your response. It's been a long time. Since 2015, that is a long time ago. Now, I say it's a long time ago because we had transitioned into ICD-10 around that time. I don't know if you got training for ICD-10. I'm sure you did, but as far as like remembering all of that and having to think about that now, it is quite a feat, especially if you've been away from it. And I don't know if you've continued to study or anything like that. So with that said, you might want to go ahead and start doing the self study again. I do have the video for independent sequence on how to study. You can study for your RHIT, or you can try to sit for a certification exam, the CCS or the CCA or the CPC. So you have options out there to choose from. But what I would do is I would contact AHIMA, and I would see if there's anything that you need to do now if you're still wanting to sit for the RHIT. And if you are wanting to sit for the RHIT and perhaps if you've been out of the program for a long time like she has, it's important to know this. The reason that you would want to sit for an RHIT designation would be if you want to be a supervisor, an auditor, or like a lead coder, because that's typically what those designations are for. Those are people that are in the more managerial side of the house, the supervisory side of the house. If being a supervisor and being a hands-on instructor with these providers is not really your thing, then you should really consider going the certification route, which is, like I said, the CCA, the CCS, or the CPC, if you are wanting to go with AAPC. So there's options out there for you. I would just recommend that if you're really thinking about it, to check out my other videos. I do have videos where I'm explaining the differences between the certification route and going the degree designation route. And a lot of people are under that misconception that you need to have a degree in order to get anywhere in this field. That's not true, simply put, because degree holders and certification holders, a lot of times they can either be making about the same, or there's not very much difference in their pay scale. It depends on where you're at as well. So that is something to think about. It's just a lot of money to get a degree. And if you're wanting to just be a medical coder, then I would go the certification route, because there's people that get these degrees. They don't really know or understand what the full function of these degrees are, and then they're just completely like lost when they get out in the real world, and they're like, really? Well, I just paid all of this money for this degree designation, and that's being a supervisor or a manager is not really what I want to do. But an employer is going to see you with a degree and expect you to want to be in those positions, because that's what they're looking at when they see that. So again, having a certification and having the degree, sometimes there's not a whole lot of difference, especially if you are working in the capacity as a medical coder. So that is just something to think about. But I would definitely contact AHIMA if you've been out of school that long, just to make sure there's nothing else that you need to do to be able to catch up. And you're literally going to have to restart learning everything all over again. And you have to go over everything. So being out of school that long is it's just too long. That's 5 years ago. And you're going to have to start again. So that is just my suggestion. Again, I'll be leaving that link for the independent study in the description box below. If there's things down there that you know, by all means, skip them and just go with whatever you need to start learning. So that's just my advice there. Next question. Does age matter to be hired? I'm not very young, but if there's still a chance for me, I would like to start studying for medical coding. I knew a lady that when I was in school and I finished school, she was age 61. She got her certification at age 61, and she's still a coder today. So if that is not if that is not motivation enough, there's lots of people that get into medical coding that are in their late 40s, that are in their late 50s, and some in their 60s. I do have a viewer that is in his 70s, and he is studying this. So really, there is no age limit. Okay, and they cannot discriminate against you for age. As long as you're spry and you're with it enough, you understand and you know that it's going to be an uphill battle to get a job as a medical coder in the beginning. Know that right out of the gate. And that has nothing to do with your age. They do this to everybody, regardless of your age, because new medical coders have a hard time getting in. That is something about the field that I really wish would change, but until then, you have to go through what we all went through, which is getting a lot of rejection in the beginning, or trying to get into being a medical coder in a different way. Sometimes you have to start with medical records. Sometimes you have to start with prior authorizations. There's plenty of different titles that you can choose from, right? To be able to get in. Some people start their career in medical coding as a biller. So there is always those options. But if that is what you want to do, and go for it, because your age shouldn't stop you. Okay, a lot of people, it hasn't stopped them. So, next question: if you're getting your RHIT but have no experience, do you recommend starting with coding? Again, it really does depend on what you want to do. RHITs, Registered Health Information Technician, that is the associate's degree, right? That is the associate's degree designation offered by the American Health Information Management Association. There is going to be a change with the RHIT in the next few years. I will try to find the link for that article in the description, and I'll put it in the description box below. But basically, and I'm not going to get into that right now because it's too much to cover right now. But just know that there is a change coming. If you're wanting to get these degree designations, know that employers are going to look at you like that you are wanting to be in a managerial position or in some other position of authority, because that's what they're thinking when they see somebody with a college degree. Well, Blue, you might say, I see a lot of these jobs that are saying that they want a degree. A lot of them are also saying that they will accept a certification, a CCS, a CCA, or a CPC. So, I mean, there's that. But again, knowing what you're getting into when you have these degree designations is really important, because they're looking at you like you want to be a manager. That's what they're looking at you like. So that is something that, I mean, Sometimes people are not aware of this, and schools are often trying to get people into these programs, so they're going to sell as much as they can because that's their job. But it is also your job to make sure that you're doing the research that you need to so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Many people I've heard from that they have spent thousands getting a degree and they don't even use it because they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. So that is something that, you have to think about. As far as whether you want to recommend starting off with coding, I mean, it's entirely up to you. That is basically your choice. Because RHIT, you're going to be in that health information arena, which involves coding. So whatever it is that you want to do. Next question. I'm into the program right now, but it's so difficult because I don't have time, but I'm trying. Darling, you're going to have to make time. This is not something that, I'm going to do this in my spare time. A lot of times when people are selling these programs, they are selling them, you can learn this in your spare time. Medical coding is not something that you can learn in your spare time. This is something that needs time. You have to devote time to it. And the more time that you devote to it, the more successful you're going to be at it. Because it's going to take time for you to learn all this medical terminology, anatomy and physiology, and your pharmacology. The thing about it is, medical coding involves us knowing what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. I say that all the time. So if you're in a rush or if you don't have time for this, you cannot be surprised at the result if you're not giving it 100%. You have to give this 100%. And it's always going to be difficult. And especially if you're not putting the time or the legwork in it, it's still going to be very difficult. So that is something that you have to set yourself up for success. You have to be willing to make time for it. And I know, like you say, you're trying, but you're also saying at the same time, I don't have time. You need to make time. If you need to square away time, if you need to get other people in your household on board saying, hey, I'm doing my studying right now, then that's what you need to do. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who chose this profession. This is what it's going to take to be successful in it. You have to make the time to study. You have to make the time to learn these things. There's no getting around that. That's just my advice on that one. And the last question. I'm interested in doing this type of work part-time after I retire. I have a BSN and I have and some master's prepared courses. How do I get started? All right, so this person is a nurse and they are wanting to do medical coding part-time. So I did tell the viewer that when you are brand new, it doesn't matter if you've been a nurse before, you will have to work full-time brand new as a medical coder. There is no part-time work for brand new medical coders because think about this. They know if you're a brand new medical coder that they're going to have to train you. They're going to get a quarter of the work out of you if you're working part-time. No employer wants to pay somebody for a quarter of the work if they're going to be working only part-time. They want to make sure that they get full use out of you because what medical coders get paid is very well. So the viewer did say that they know they're going to have to work full-time, but again, that was what I had saw, what they said initially there. So I just wanted to let everybody else know that if you are wanting to do this, and regardless if you were a nurse before, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to work at this part-time in the beginning. You have to be expected to work full-time like the rest of us in the beginning. Once you've had experience, then you will be able to get that part-time work. But in the beginning, they know they're going to have to train you. And a nurse turned medical coder is a good thing because a lot of times employers get excited about this. They say, okay, this is great. We have a nurse that turned medical coder. So this nurse is going to know how to communicate with providers better than a regular coder because they already have that established relationship already built in. A doctor is going to gravitate more towards a nurse rather than a coder, even a seasoned coder, because they know how to communicate with nurses. But that is just something that is a feather in your cap as a nurse, because okay, now we have this part. But the nurse's version of coding, and I say this because this is what a lot of nurses have told me. Oh, well, I've done the coding for the provider. I know how to code. Code selection and understanding what you're reading from the document is two different things. So that's what you have to be able to distinguish the difference. When coders are coding, we're looking at the documentation and we are deciding what needs to be picked up and what levels is going to be applied, what procedure codes are going to be picked up. Because as many of you know, there are tons of procedure codes that don't always apply to every single encounter. So that's something that medical coders know. And being a nurse, you're going to have a really keen eye to be able to spot where there's missing information, whereas a regular coder it's going to take them time to learn that, and they have to be very engaged with their provider. So again, that's another feather in your cap. That's really good information to put down on your resume that you have had interaction with providers and you know. But like I said, when it comes to in the beginning, you're going to be expected to work the full time like the rest of us. It's going to be difficult sometimes in the beginning, especially for a nurse, to get a job too as a medical coder, because that is just something with the industry. If you have connections, I would strongly recommend that you use your connections to get yourself in the door somehow, some way, because it's a good thing, and you have to learn how to use those, because when it comes to medical coding, this industry is very funny when it comes to having new people, and regardless of how much education they have. So that's the thing that you have to be prepared for, okay? And don't take it personally, because it's not you. It happens to everybody. But with, like I said, with nurses, they're very good because they already know how to communicate with these doctors. But you still would have to learn the fundamental basics of how to code, just like the rest of us. So, I wish you the best of luck. This is a great career to continue to use your education and to use your experience after you retire. And of course, it's not physically demanding, which is what is appealing to a lot of nurses, because working with patients, it gets physically demanding. You're still serving the patients because you're looking at the documentation and making sure that all of the codes that are being selected are appropriate, whether it's the diagnoses that follow them everywhere or the procedure codes that they're getting charged for. So you're still serving that patient, but behind the scenes. So that's a good thing, for those that really do care for the patients. And I know that a lot of times I've heard from nurses that they really like, taking care of their patients, and, medical coding is just another step for them to do that. And so, but yes, it's very true. So that's it. That's the show for today. I hope you've enjoyed this Q&A Tuesday, and I will see y'all again for tomorrow's episode. Have you hit that subscribe button yet? Like this and share this if it helped you. And I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.